Today we'll be starting with the first canto, first chapter. So, Hare Krishna, you're able to hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So, let us start. Srimad Bhagavatam, very auspicious to hear. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God Narayana, unto Narayana, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Ashtaprayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, welcome. So we'll just start by doing the Jaya Radha Madhav, and then we'll to get into the mood of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivara Dari Jaya Girivara Dari Jaya Yashodananda Na Jaya Rajana Ranjana Jaya Yashodananda Na Jaya Rajana Ranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Rajana Ranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Rajana Ranjana Jaya Yamuna Karavanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Jagannath Baldev Suramai ki jai. Guru Parampara ki jai. Shri Goswami. I go from Hari Bol. So welcome all of you, Prabhuji's Matajis. Thank you for joining. And as you all know, this is a new session we have started from. So every Saturday it will be there. So we'll start with the first canto, the first chapter. So half of the first chapter will be discussed today, and the next Saturday, another Prabhuji will take the next half. Like that will go. 38 weeks will go on. So it's very auspicious to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And we have all been selected today by Krishna to come for this program and hear Bhagavatam. Otherwise, it's not so easy to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's a very fortunate thing. So what I will do is, because it's not possible to read all the verses, all the translations and everything within this 1 hour. So I'll just read the first 3 verses, very important verses. Just read the verses and then we'll start discussing, right? Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This first canto, first chapter, first verse. Janmadhyasya tonmayaditaratash Chate Shabhigya Swarat Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kavaye Muhyanti Suraya Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrisha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. The second verse. Dharma projita kaitotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapatrayo mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamunikrite Kimva Parerishvaraha Sadyordi Avarudyate Atra Kritibihi Shushrushuvis Lakshana. The third verse. 3 very important verses. Nigama kalpatarur galitam phalam Shuka mukadamrita dravya samyutam Pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam Muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavuka Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So glorious, no, to recite the verses, because when you recite the verses very lovingly, Krishna is dancing in your tongue. So everybody has heard Srimad Bhagavatam. What does Srimad mean? Srimad means beautiful. So this is beautiful Bhagavatam. Everybody wants something beautiful, no? We are always looking something beautiful in this material world, but nothing is so beautiful than having the darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And there is no difference between Bhagavatam and Krishna. And moreover, without the mercy of Guru, Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, we just cannot touch Srimad Bhagavatam. How can we even explain it? Correct? So this is an appointment with Krishna today. We have all taken appointment with Krishna to hear Bhagavatam. And hearing Bhagavatam is not to prove, but to improve. Because Bhagavatam means behavior. You can see from various devotees in the whole of Bhagavatam how they behave, various circumstances, difficult and difficult circumstances, how they behave and how they take the solutions from the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, and how they pray to Krishna and get solutions. So that's why in 2nd Canto, 8th chapter, 4th verse, very beautiful verse. Shranmata Shraddhaya Nityam Granatascha Swacheshtitam Kalena Nati Dhirgena Bhagavan Vishate Radhi. It says persons who hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and are always taking the matter very seriously will have the personality of God Sri Krishna manifested in their hearts within a short time. See, Srimad Bhagavatam is the practical way to attract Krishna's mercy. Now let us see what is the practical way to study Srimad Bhagavatam. See, we are hearing every day, we are hearing Bhagavad Gita. Now we are going to hear Bhagavatam. There's no point in just coming, hearing 15 minutes and go back to our material routine. How to study and what is the practical way to study Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam? It is not coming, nothing is in the air, everything is in the ground. See, while describing the life of Swayambhu Manu in Srimad Bhagavatam, verse 3:22-35, it says, consequently, although his duration of life gradually came to an end, his long life, consisting of a Manvantara era, was not spent in vain, since he ever engaged in hearing, contemplating, writing down, and chanting the pastimes of the Lord. See, Prabhuji Mataji, this is the only verse where Srila Prabhupada is giving us a direct hint on how to study Srimad Bhagavatam. First, we hear. Correct? First, we hear. Second, then we contemplate on what we hear. That is, meditate on, think about on what we heard. Contemplate on what we hear. And then cement it by writing it down. Make it permanent. How? We have to write it down. What we hear, we think about it and write it down. And then speak about it. This is a very practical way. So 4 things we have to understand. First, we have to hear, then contemplate on what we hear, cement it by writing down. So we should have notebooks when we are hearing Bhagavad Gita. Write it down and then speak about it. So best way is to keep 2 notebooks, right? One for initially when you are hearing, there's a careful running reading like, and then one for a detailed study later on. Correct? See, the sages of Naimisharanya, 60,000 sages. Shaunaka Rishi was the leader of that. They've all assembled in Naimisharanya. They were all anxious how to help the fallen souls of this Kali Yuga. And here they are seeking the remedy from whom? Suta Goswami. Because Bhagavatam actually it started with Shukadeva Goswami giving Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. And in that assembly, Suta Goswami was also sitting there. And he heard Bhagavatam directly from Shukadeva Goswami. And he did not have, of course, that day there's no notebook or laptop or any notebook, nothing. All by Shruti. Memory was so powerful, just by hearing that. So now Suta Goswami is going to give the same Bhagavatam in Naimisharanya. So 60,000 sages, they were preparing for a 1,000-year yajna for the people, welfare of the people in Kali Yuga. See, Satyuga, the age of people were 100,000 years. Treta Yuga, 1,000 years. Dwapar Yuga, 1,000. Treta, 10,000. Dwapar, 1,000. And Kali Yuga, 100. Age of people, right? And now in Kali Yuga, just as the beginning, when Krishna left the planet, Kali Yuga started. So the age of Kali Yuga will be only 100 years, right? So they are now going to do a 1,000-year yajna. So what is the most important thing required for conducting this yajna? One should be alive for 1,000 years, right? So Shaunaka Rishi, he therefore approached Yamaraj to attend this yajna. When Yamaraj is there, nobody will die. Correct? It's a very strategic appointment of Yamaraj, right? So how much? 18 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam is translated by and purported by His Divine Srila Prabhupada. So why Srimad Bhagavatam out of all the 18 Puranas? See, in the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, the second verse, it is said, Kimma Pare Ishvaraha. What is the need of any other scripture for self-realization? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. So this is the specific significance of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada explains in the purport of 382 that Srimad Bhagavatam was especially compiled and it traditionally comes down in disciplic succession for the solution of all the problems of human society. Only one who is fortunate can have the opportunity to hear Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of pure devotees of the Lord. That's what Prabhupada is telling in this purport. So if one comes in contact with the book Bhagavatam, if those who are attending here, if they have Srimad Bhagavatam, so if one comes in contact with book Bhagavatam as well as with the devotee Bhagavatam, who knows what the Bhagavatam is, then such a fortunate man gets out of the material entanglement. So Emperor Parikshit Maharaj, he received the information of his death in time. And he at once left his kingdom, his family, and sat down on the bank of the Ganges to fast till death. 7 days, right? Moreover, you see, Vyasadeva is the writer, right? He wrote Puranas, Vedas. But he was feeling depressed. So Narada Muni, as his spiritual master, who is the spiritual master of Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, such a wonderful spiritual master, right? He then advised Vyasadeva. He said that because he has not glorified Krishna and his devotees, that's why he is feeling depressed. So she has asked him to write Srimad Bhagavatam. So see, Vyasadeva, who's written all those things, he himself is not happy. So how can others will be happy by just reading Vedas and other Puranas and all? That's why the Bhagavatam is the essence of all the Vedas and Puranas. See, this supplementary Vedic literature was first described in the personality of God to Lord Brahma, who told it with satisfaction to his son Narada. And in succession, the great sage Narada instructed Bhagavatam unto the unlimitedly powerful Vyasadeva, who meditated in devotional service upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth, on the bank of the river Saraswati. So Vyasadeva compiled Srimad Bhagavatam in 18,000 verses. And Shukadeva Goswami, in turn, he received the lessons of this great literature from his father, Vyasadeva. See, in 1340 purport, Prabhupada says, one can derive from study of Bhagavatam all benefits that are possible to be derived from the personal presence of the Lord. Because it carries with it all the transcendental blessings of Lord Shri Krishna that we can expect from his personal contact. Such a beautiful point to be understood. Encouragement, motivation. So although Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken in 4 verses, Chatushloki Bhagavatam, 2933 to 36, by Brahmaji to Narada, he advised Narada to expand the idea he had heard from Brahmaji. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed this to Srila Rupa Goswami in a nutshell. But the disciple Rupa Goswami expanded this elaborately. And the same subject were further expanded by Jiva Goswami and even further by Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura. See, Prabhupada's purports are attempts to follow in the footsteps of all these authorities. So Srimad Bhagavatam is not like ordinary fiction or mundane literature. It is unlimited in strength. And however one may expand it according to one's own ability, Bhagavatam still cannot be finished by such expansion. So Srimad Bhagavatam, being the sound representation of the Lord, is simultaneously explained in 4 verses and in 4 billion verses at the same, inasmuch as the Lord is smaller than the atom and bigger than the unlimited sky. So such is the potency of Srimad Bhagavatam. So see, the personality of God, Supreme Personality of God, Shri Krishna, appeared before us just a little prior to the beginning of Kali Yuga. And he returned to his eternal home practically at the commencement of Kali Yuga. So while Krishna was present, he exhibited everything by his different activities. He spoke Bhagavad Gita specifically and eradicated all the pretentious principles of religiosity. And prior to his departure from this material world, he empowered Srila Vyasadeva through Narada to compile the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. And thus both Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are like torch bearers for the blind people of this age. See, if men in this age of Kali want to see the real light of life, they must take to these 2 books only, and their aim of life will be fulfilled. Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary study of Bhagavatam, and Srimad Bhagavatam is the summum bonum of life, Lord Shri Krishna personified. We must therefore accept Srimad Bhagavatam as the direct representation of Lord Shri Krishna. One who can see Srimad Bhagavatam can also see Lord Krishna in person. They are identical. See, in other Puranas, there are different methods set forth by which one can worship the demigods, right? But in Bhagavatam, only the Supreme Lord is mentioned. The Supreme Lord is a total body, and the demigods are the different parts of that body. So by worshipping the Supreme Lord, one does not need to worship the demigods. The Supreme Lord becomes fixed in the heart of the devotee immediately. So in this chapter, because all these sages are assembled in emission, they will be asking, there will be 6 questions asked in this chapter, which will be discussed later on further in the next Saturdays, right? So these 6 questions are the basis on which the answers are given for the whole of Bhagavatam by Suta Goswami. The 6 questions the sages of Naimisharanya asked Suta Goswami. Just give what are those questions. I will not go into detail. First question was, this is given in 1.119. What is the absolute and ultimate good for people in general? Ultimate good means Shreya. What is absolute truth? Absolute and ultimate good for the people in general. Second question is, this is asked in 1.111. What is the essence of all scriptures? Then in 1.112, the third question is, these sages are asking questions to Suta Goswami. Tell why Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appeared. Then in 1.117, the fourth question, they are asking, tell us of the acts of Lord who performs in relation to creating the material world. Then in 1.118, the fifth question, they are asking to describe the activities of the incarnations of the Lord. And the sixth question, 1.123, they are asking, where have the religious principles gone after Krishna's disappearance from this planet? So let us come to the first verse, which we just recited. Om Nam Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmadhyasya Hito Anvayat, right? So if you chant these mantras, at least one in one day, your life will be glorious. So these mantras, Bhagavata mantra. See, not only Bhagavata, every Vedic literature is a mantra, transcendental sound. So we should practice resounding this mantra, like Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and all these verses. See, Vyasadeva, in this, he's offering his obeisances to Satyam Param, absolute supreme truth, not to the relative truth. Everyone has to offer obeisances to somebody. So in our practical life, at least, we have to offer obeisances to the police constable. So when you go on the street, as soon as they stop you, so we have to obey, right? So how can you avoid obeying? They are saying that, like, we don't believe in God. God is dead. I am God. But why are you offering obeisances even to the small constable? That means you have to offer your obeisances to somebody. That is our position. But we are offering obeisances to the relative truth. Relative truth, that is, means, see, like for example, in the verse is given, Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Sargo Amrisha. We are offering obeisances to a temporary manifestation of Tejo Vari Mridam Vinayah. Teja means fire, Vari means water, and Mrit means earth. So you take earth, mix it with water, and put it into fire. Then grind it. So it becomes mortar and the brick. And then with that, you prepare a big skyscraper and offer obeisances there. Right? Oh, such a big house, mine, Trisakura. So, but there is another place. Dhamna Svena Nirasta Kuhakam. See, we are offering here obeisances to the bricks, stone, iron. Like in Western countries, so many statues. But when we install the deity of the Lord, actually it is a form, eternal form of Krishna. Nobody offers obeisances. They will go off to offer obeisances to the dead. Because, like, for example, in the British Museum, they are standing in queue to offer obeisances to a dead body. It has no value, but they're wasting their time. Shama eva hi kevalam. But if they are invited, they'll say they are worshipping idol. Why shall I go? Why shall I go there? This is called illusion. They're actually doing obeisances, but not to the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna. Vyasdeva says that I offer my obeisances to the Supreme Absolute Truth. Satyam Param Dhimahi. There is no more truth beyond that. And as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Matha Parataram Nanyat Kinchidasti Dhananjaya in 7.7 Bhagavad Gita. Matha, beyond me there is no more superior power. Matha Parataram Nanyat. Na Anyat. So Vyasdeva is offering his obeisances to the person about whom there is nobody. God means controller. But here in our experience, we see that one controller is controlled by another controller. Nobody is absolute controller. Therefore, nobody is absolute truth. There must be absolute truth. Janmadhyasi yataha. First verse. As it has begun, the source of all emanations. Now, what is the source of emanation? What is the nature? One has to accept the cause and effect. See, as we have got experience, in everything there is a cause and there is an effect. So the supreme cause means was no more cause. Sarva karana karanam. See, I am caused by my father. My father is caused by his father. His father. Then go on making research. Who is the ultimate father? There must be some ultimate father. Just like I have my father has got father, his father. We can see up to 2 to 3 generations upwards. But beyond that, we cannot see. That does not mean that the great grandfather had no father. There must have been some father. No, is it very unreasonable? Anyone can understand. Although I cannot see with my limited potency, but with my knowledge, reasonable knowledge, I can understand that either he may be great grandfather or above that. Above that, he must have some father. So Lord Brahma is called Pitamaha, grandfather, because he is the original father within this universe. He is the first created being, and he begot so many children. So all the living entities, they are born of Brahma, and he is called Srishtikarta. Srishtikarta means creator of this universe. And there are not just one universe, there are innumerable universes, millions. And in each universe, there is one Brahma. And all these Brahmas are also created by Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. So therefore, Vishnu Tattva is the absolute truth. Brahma Samhita is only a description of Krishna. And this book was composed by Lord Brahma. Nobody knows how many millions of years ago this book was composed. But we understand that it was composed by Brahma on the authority of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was traveling in South India, Adi Keshava Mandira, there was a temple. And still that temple is there. He found out this Brahma Samhita in handwritten. Brahma Samhita was collected by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from a temple in South India. And he delivered to his immediate disciples that this is Brahma Samhita written by Brahma. It is a summary of the Bhagavata, Srimad Bhagavatam. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives reference to Srimad Bhagavatam with Brahma Samhita. That means Srimad Bhagavatam also is eternal. They are not man-made, manufactured books. No. The Vedic literature means, as it is stated in this verse, Tene Brahma Hrida. See, Brahma means Vedic literature. Shabda Brahma. So he distributed this knowledge. Vasudeva, the original person, absolute truth, he transferred this Vedic knowledge. So Brahma was alone, right? In the beginning, he could not see Krishna eye to eye. But Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriddesha Arjuna Tishtati. Bhagavad Gita 18.61 says, Krishna is in everyone's heart. So he taught him from within. Krishna's name is Chaitya Guru. Guru, spiritual master from within. So Krishna is trying to help us from within. And he manifests again externally also as spiritual master, directly teaching. So from within and from without, he is trying to help us. So Krishna is so kind from within and without. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavayi. So this Brahma Samhita was written by Lord Brahma. And in Brahma Samhita, the name of Krishna is there. Ishvara Paramaha Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Radhiradir Govindaha Sarva Karana Karanam. So that is the 5th chapter, 5.1. No? There were 100 chapters, but only 5th chapter is available. So in the beginning of that 5th chapter, Brahma says Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha. So Krishna is not manufactured. In the Brahma Samhita, there is complete description of Krishna. The cause of all causes, Sarva Karana Karana. So the absolute truth is that which is the original cause. See, the scientists, they are trying to find out the original cause of creation, but they are creating their own imagination. Like there was a chunk, it burst out, planets came out, like that. And where from this chunk came? This is nonsense, right, going on. So this Srimad Bhagavatam will gradually elevate everyone to the highest perfect stage of transcendence. It will enable to transcend the 3 modes of mental activities: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And also fruitive actions, or speculative philosophy, worship of functional deities. All this can be clearly known. See this second verse, 1.1.2. This alone can be sufficient to give us complete liberation from material bondage. And it can take us from material bondage to Golokdham. Just this verse, 112. Projita Kaito Paramo, right? This is the second verse. I can share on the screen. This one. completely rejecting all religious activities. See, my Guru Maharaj used to say, which scriptures can give more clear and lucid ways to reach transcendence than Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam? We should reject the material intentions. See, all the ways can only be successful if we remember one point of this verse 112. See, in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami makes it very clear. Who is the Supreme? It is Krishna. We are not the Supreme. And this is what the first verse is telling us. How do we get conquered by Srimad Bhagavatam? By accepting that Krishna is Satyam Param Dhimahi. That is why we recite in the beginning of the Bhagavatam classes, no, on Bhagavad Gita, Narayana Namaskritya Naram. And then, right, before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest. So now that we know who is Supreme, what we must do, that is stated in the second verse of Bhagavatam. If you want to approach the Supreme, you do only one thing. You please reject all the activities that appear religious, but tinged with material intentions. As long as we have even a tinge of material motive, we cannot approach Srimad Bhagavatam with attraction. Not possible. This cannot be compromised. And this is the standard the Acharyas have given us. Why? You may ask why Krishna is so strict. It is not that he is strict. He is setting us standards to purify ourselves. The human form of life is to purify our existence, right? Only Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam can do it. If we have even the slightest motive in our heart, you may study Bhagavatam, but you cannot realize Bhagavatam. The less motive that is in the heart, the easier it is to become attracted to Srimad Bhagavatam. So how many people get attracted to Bhagavatam? Because if you are having a motive, it is not possible. So it is not the fault of Bhagavatam that we become fruitive when we sit down with Bhagavatam. It is not the fault of Bhagavatam that we think, now it is enough. Now we should do something else. It is not the fault of Bhagavatam when we say, Prabhu, when I read Bhagavatam, I do not understand many times. It is a fact that there is motive when we sit to read Bhagavatam. If our only motive is to glorify Krishna and glorify devotees, then the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam will come alive. Srila Prabhupada will speak to us, and all the blessings of the Acharyas will be upon us. That is why Srimad Bhagavatam is as good as magic. It is magical because Krishna is Yogeshwara. He is a master mystic. He can make Srimad Bhagavatam come alive because he is non-different from Bhagavatam. And all we have to do is to follow the process, nothing else. Krishna resides as Mantra Murti in these Shastras. And mercifully, he reciprocates to our queries in mind if we learn them with faith. You may have a lot of questions, right? But if you learn them with faith, you will answer our queries. Srimad Bhagavatam, first, the second verse, very nicely glorifies the beauty of Bhagavatam and also about the qualifications required for us to understand this great scripture. See, the secret of devotional service, even if you do little devotional service, it saves you from the greatest fear. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 2.40. Swalpamatpesya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. If you don't have any expectations, then we are free even from the fear of death. If you don't have any expectations, we are even free from death, fear of death. The fear of getting entangled in this cycle of birth and death, it will also go away. So this entanglement is the greatest fear. See, we don't want to take different types of bodies again and again. Anybody wants? No. It is not that if we have human body now, that we will be guaranteed human body again in next life. In between two human births, there are 84 lakh different bodies. So why should we get into these bodies again? It is better that we just go back to Krishna in this birth itself. Better late than never. Always, whenever you try to understand this, please start. Take the beads in the hand and don't stop. Just start standing. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. See, in the third verse of this chapter, Nigama Kalpataro Galitam Phalam. Says, the translation says, oh, expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam. We relish so many things in the material world, right? We relish going to restaurants, movies, malls, so many other things, all sense gratificatory processes. But he says, relish Srimad Bhagavatam. Why? Because the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. Mature fruit. It emanated from the lips of Sri Shukadeva Goswami. Shuka means the parrot, right? And when the parrot touches the fruit, it becomes ripe. So therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. So the line, Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam, is worth meditating. Pibata means to do relish. And rasam means juice which is relishable. Right now, mango season is coming, right? If you eat from the mango tree, the branches and leaves, you will not get the taste. But you take it from the top, mango juice, mango, that is relishable. See, in the purport, Prabhupada very nicely says, every living entity, beginning from Brahma, the firstborn living being within the material world, down to the insignificant ant, desires to relish some sort of taste derived from sense perceptions. So these sensual pleasures are technically called rasas. And such rasas are of different varieties. The rasas are exchanged between members of the same species. This is very important to understand. Same species. Man to man, like that, right? Human being. So as far as the spirit souls are concerned, they are one qualitatively with the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the rasas were originally exchanged between the spiritual living being and the spiritual whole, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The spiritual exchange or rasa is fully exhibited in spiritual existence between living beings and the Supreme Lord. This is the purport which Prabhupada gives for this third verse. See, the quality of relishing is present in all living entities. Everybody has the quality to relish. If you like to relish a very good singing program, or something like that, no, you relish it. You relish the taste of having gulab jamun. See, but the object of relishment determines our nature. Object is very important. See, great devotees of the Lord like Parikshit Maharaj, Narada Muni, Yamaraj, they're all so eager and anxious to hear about the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. And they want to hear about it again and again. Parikshit Maharaj, he did not worry that he could live only for 7 days. Nor did Yamaraj hesitate to preside the 1,000-year yajna when the sages Ramachandra invited him, saying that they are going to perform the yajna hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So all these pure devotees of the Lord, they're always present in places. Just here, just think about it, right? All these pure devotees of the Lord are always present in the places wherever Srimad Bhagavatam is studied. Not only in the classes, but even in a smaller group, we meet, we call people, sit down together and read one chapter, recite and discuss, right? They are there. They are present there. And they never neglect or try to skip the classes. Very important point. They never neglect. Wherever they're Bhagavatam, they will be there. And they will never make excuses for skipping the classes. But unfortunately, we fail to relish this glorious scripture and find out every opportunity to miss the class. The reason is because our inclination is more towards relishing gossips. We have so much urge to talk about others' faults. Prabhupada explains in the purport of 8.62 in Adi Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, the good things do not come to our notice. If something is bad, then we highlight it. Prabhupada very clarity, very clear. Everyone has a combination of faults and glories. But a Vaishnava, a sober man, accepts only a man's glories and not his faults. See, I was pondering how study of Bhagavatam can give us complete Vedic knowledge. Because the Vedas, they are infinite. And Bhagavatam has only 18,000 shlokas. And moreover, Vedas require extensive study of like Vedangas, like Chandas, no meter, Nirukti, like dictionary, deep knowledge of Sanskrit, years of study. Whereas Bhagavatam does not require any of these qualifications, except hearing submissively from a born-out speaker is enough. Then how come we can get all the Vedic knowledge by studying this one Purana with so much ease? That's what, no, when something is given very freely and easily, we think we have doubts. When we charge, oh, it's expensive, oh, that's very good, right? So by the blessings of Guru and Shastras, so see, I came across this Bhagavatam Mahatmyam from the Padma Puran, which exactly clarified this point with 3 beautiful examples. Why Bhagavatam? The first one is Amulagra rasastishtan astena khadate yata sambhuyasa pratak bhutaha phale vishwa manoharaha the vital fluid of the tree is spread from the root to the tip, though it cannot be tasted. When that same fluid accumulates in the fruit, however, it tastes very delicious and attracts everyone's mind. So the first one. Second one, Yata Dugde Stita Sarpir Na Khadayopakalpate Pratak Bhutam Hita Divyam Devanam Rasa Vardhanam. Similarly, ghee, which is relatable even to the Devatas, is spread throughout cow's milk, but it cannot be severed, until it is extracted. In the same way, Bhagavatam is churned extract of the spiritual knowledge, which is spread throughout the Vedas in an esoteric form. Third one is Nikshunam api madhyantam sarkara vyapa dishtati pratak bhutam cha samishta tata bhagavati katha. Sugar also exists throughout the sugarcane. Yet when extracted, it becomes more succulent. In the same way, Bhagavatam is the extracted concentrate of the Vedas, which are comparable to sugarcane. So, just like extracting ghee from milk, sugar from sugarcane, Srila Vyasadeva has extracted this great Purana from the ocean of Vedas. So, one who has studied and assimilated Bhagavatam has got the essence of all the Vedas, even without reading them. Just hear this statement very nicely, right? One who has studied and assimilated Bhagavatam has got the essence of all Vedas, even without reading them. While on the other hand, even if one who has studied all the Vedas, but if he has not studied Srimad Bhagavatam, his study is not complete, is incomplete. Especially in Kali Yuga, Srimad Bhagavatam is recommended by all scriptures for getting spiritual enlightenment. We fail to understand that in our waning years, when we become old, our faculties deteriorate, right? And we will be unable to perform various physical devotional service. We should be able to sit in one place. So now we should be able to sit in one place and read Srimad Bhagavatam for at least 2 hours or more. So these chanting and studying of Bhagavatam, we should increase instead of running around here and there. In this way, we live our life for the real purpose and not hanker for unwanted things in the name of duty and devotional service. See, this reminds me of a wonderful purport from Bhagavatam 1:15-39, which is very important for our own improvement of devotional service. Prabhupada says, everyone's life must be so arranged that the last stage of life, say at least the last 15 or to 20 years prior to death, can be absolutely devoted to the devotional service of the Lord to attain the highest perfection of life. It is really foolishness to engage oneself all days of one's life in material enjoyment and fruitive activities, because as long as the mind remains absorbed in fruitive work for a material enjoyment, there is no chance of getting out from the conditional life or material bondage. This is a very important statement of Prabhupada. No one should follow the suicidal policy of neglecting one's supreme task of attaining the highest perfection of life, namely going back home, back to God. Now in the 4th verse, I will share this 4th verse now. Here it speaks about Naimisharanya, right? Naimishe animisha kshetre rishaya shaunakadaya satram swargaya lokaya sahasra savam asata. Once in a holy place, the forest of Naimisharanya, right? We should know the importance of Naimisharanya. Srimad Bhagavatam, after his first recitation by Srila Sukadeva Goswami, was repeated for the second time at Naimisharanya. That's what in the 114 it is saying. It says, once in a holy place in the forest of Naimisharanya, great sages headed by sage Shaunaka assembled to perform a great 1,000-year sacrifice for the satisfaction of the Lord and his devotees. In the purport, Prabhupada very nicely says, in the Vayavya Tantra, it is said that Brahma, the engineer of this particular universe, he contemplated a great wheel which should enclose the universe. The hub of this great circle was fixed at a particular place known as Naimisharanya. And there is another reference to the forest of Naimisharanya in Varaha Purana, where it is stated that by performance of sacrifice at this place, the strength of demonic people is curtailed, reduced. So thus Brahmanas prefer Naimisharanya for such sacrificial performances. So the great sages are always anxious to do good to the people in general. And as such, the sages headed by Shaunaka and others assembled at this holy place of Naimisharanya with a program of performing great and continuous chain of sacrificial performance. They were assembled there. See, forgetful men do not know the right path for peace and prosperity, but the sages know it well. Therefore, for the good of all men in Kali Yuga, we are always anxious to perform acts which may bring about peace and in the world. They are very sincere friends to all living in peace. That's what they are. And at the risk of great personal inconvenience, they're always engaged in the service of the Lord for the good of all people. See, Lord Vishnu is just like a great tree. And all others, including the demigods like demigods, men like Siddhas, Charanas, other living entities, they are all like branches, twigs and leaves of that tree. By pouring water on the root of the tree, all the parts of the tree are automatically nourished. So only those branches and leaves which are detached cannot be so satisfied. Important point. Detached branches and leaves, they dry up gradually despite all watering attempts. When there's something here, you put water on the leaves and branches which is detached from the tree, it doesn't make any sense. Similarly, human society, which is detached from the personality of Godhead, like the detached branches and leaves, is not capable of being watered. And when attempting to do so, is simply wasting his energy and resources. See, the modern materialist society is detached from its relation to the Supreme Lord. And all the plans which are being made by atheistic leaders are sure to be baffled at every step. But still, they do not wake up to this, right? So in this age, the congregational chanting of the holy names of the Lord is the prescribed method for waking up. Jeev Jago, right? The ways and means are most scientifically presented by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And intelligent persons may take advantage of his teachings in order to bring about real peace and prosperity. Srimad Bhagavatam is also presented for this purpose. See, in one of his lectures, Prabhupada says, these ISKCON centers are open just to give everyone the chance of hearing about Krishna so that his dirty heart may be cleansed. This is the purpose. We have no other purpose. Prabhupada says we are not opening these centers for some material benefit. No. We want to give to the whole world the spiritual enlightenment, without which they are suffering. And this human form of body is especially meant for this purpose, to understand our spiritual position. See, in the 6th verse, maybe skipping because time is short now. Here, sages say, respected Sutta Goswami, you are completely free from all vice. You are well versed in all the scriptures, famous for religious life, and in the Puranas and the histories as well, for you have gone through them under proper guidance and have also explained them. See, in this verse, the word akhyatani in this verse means explaining. So in the wonderful purport, Prabhupada says, to hear and explain them is more important than reading them. To hear and explaining them is more. See, one can assimilate the knowledge of the revealed scriptures only by hearing and explaining. Hearing is called Shravana and explaining is called Kirtana. So the two processes of Shravanam and Kirtanam are of primary importance to progressive spiritual life. Only one who has properly grasped the transcendental knowledge from the right source by submissive hearing can properly explain the subject. So by the mercy of Guru, Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, we have all the guidance for the transcendental knowledge in the form of their instructions, lectures, and writings. As Prabhupada has insisted, mere reading of the scriptures is not enough. It is important that we study and also explain it to others. When will we be able to explain it to others? Only when we have understanding of what we learned. So do this. So this process of explaining, or Kirtana, is very nicely translated by Srila Prabhupada. Will in turn improve our way of studying the scriptures and will force us to be in constant touch with the scriptures. See, my Guru Maharaj always insists that we must always be prepared to speak on these transcendental subject matters. We must not shun away saying that we are not qualified. He said, I'm not qualified to give Bhagavatam, to speak about Bhagavatam. Not only in this class, even in discussing with other people, right? See, just like how we brush our teeth, take bath, eat food daily without fail to maintain our body, we should give time and energy to provide food for our soul, which will be completely nourished by these transcendental scriptures. If we are doing this preparation daily, then by the mercy of Guru, Prabhupada and Krishna, we will not have any problem as to how to explain or speak on these transcendental subject matters. Explaining to others does not mean that we are in a great position. Don't be proud. It is just another opportunity given by the merciful Lord to meditate on Him and His instructions. Also, we are not explaining anything on our own. We have not written these transcendental literatures, nor we have the capacity to translate or understand the same. The Lord and His pure devotees have provided all the things essential for us, and we are just studying and explaining them using the senses provided by the Lord. So there is nothing to be proud of when we speak on these transcendental matters. If we understand our insignificant position and sincerely endeavor to take advantage of these literatures, not only by studying, but also by explaining to others, then Krishna will be very pleased. That's what he says in Bhagavad Gita 18.68 and 69. Yayedam paramam guhyam madbhaktesh avidhasyati bhaktim mai param kritva mame veshyati asamshayah nacha tasman manusheshu kaschin me priya krittamah bhavita nacha me tasmat anya priyataro bhavi. What Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he says, for one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed. And at the end, he will come back to me. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. What a great statement. Encouragement for everyone, right? To hear, read, listen, and then speak to others. See, in the 8th verse, you're talking about submissiveness, right? Atma Ramaya Shantaya. Krishna is self-satisfied, and hence he is most gentle. Atma Ramaya means he is self-satisfied, and Shantaya means he is gentle. See, the whole point of Bhagavatam is to become gentle. Otherwise, we are really hard-hearted. When one is gentle, everything comes together. One cannot be submissive until he is gentle. Isn't that true? Until your heart becomes soft, you cannot submit. When your heart is hard, when you stand before Krishna, you cannot offer prayers. When you see a devotee, when your heart is hard, you cannot offer dandavats. See, always we pick up the phone and say, no, Dandavat Prabhu, Dandavats Prabhu. It's all a ritual. When we meet each other, so we say Dandavats Prabhu, and we do not do dandavats. Go down. This is not Manas Puja. See how much good exercise is there bowing down, right? And we are not taking it. We should just bow down before devotees. Of course, if there are 100 devotees, you do a combined dandavats. That is good. Unless you are very strong, you do 100 dandavats. If you become submissive, you become gentle. One who is submissive to Krishna and his devotees, automatically gentleness comes in the heart. That's why in Srimad Bhagavatam 118, sages of Ramachandra addresses Sutta Goswami. He says, no, and because you are submissive, your spiritual masters have endowed you with all the favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. Therefore, you can tell us all that you have scientifically learned from them. So in this verse, the sages say that because you are submissive, your spiritual masters have endowed you. So this is the mercy of Krishna. We do not deserve anything. But because we try to be submissive, the spiritual master, the pure devotee of Krishna, he endows you with all the favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. The more gentle you are in nature, in cultivation, the more submissive you become to Krishna. And not only to Krishna, to Guru, Prabhupada, the more favors are bestowed upon you. So the word favor, no? Favor means what? You do not deserve it. Right? Again, it is the mercy of the Lord. So the favor of the spiritual master is descended on the disciple on the strength of his gentleness and his submission. Another very most important verse, 1:10. Prayanalpayasha sabhya kalavasmin yuge janaha manda sumanda matayo mandabhagya upadrutaha. Another beautiful verse. This is one of the shares the symptoms of Kali Yuga. He says, "Oh learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men almost always have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed." It's easy to remember that. the symptoms. If somebody asks you what are the symptoms of Kali Yuga, today you have heard this. I can give you an acronym: SQL MUD. You know SQL is the SQL server and all, so you can SQL and MUD mud. SQL mud. S is, you can see, short lives. You can see it. S is short lives. Q is quarrelsome. L is lazy. Then on the mud, M is misguided. And U, unlucky. And D, always disturbed. If you remember this SQL mud, you can know this. Prayan Alpesh Sabya, Kalavasmi Vedanaha, Manda Sumandamatyo, Mandabhagya Upadataha. SQL mud acronym will give you the symptoms of Kali Yuga. And Kali Yuga started when Krishna just left this planet. And the duration of Kali Yuga is 432,000 years. And only about 5,500 years have passed, right? Since Kali Yuga started. But how bad it is already. In the end, it will be so much worse. And this is the 10,000 golden period when we can do the chanting, hear Bhagavatam, hear Bhagavad Gita, and go back to God. So please make use of it. So Krishna is reciprocating. That's the very important point. And see, we also see in the 12th verse, 1 minute. In the 12th verse, it gives me who is a Bhagavan. Correct? Parashuramani, father of Vyasadeva, he gave the definition of Bhagavan. Bhagavan means Almighty God who is the control of all opulence. He's got all opulence, power, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. These 6 opulences, unlimited quantity. In the material world, everybody has this, but in limited quantities. So one may have opulence, one may have power, but he will not be having beauty. So knowledge, all these things. See the same mood of eagerness. So this eagerness is very, very important for hearing Bhagavatam, which the Naimisharanya sages had to hear Bhagavatam Sutta Goswami. They are requesting, which Shukadeva Goswami has already spoken to Parikshit Maharaj. See, Prabhuji's Mata is meeting each other is the greatest miracle in the fast-paced world. Correct? And when devotees desire to meet for discussing Krishna Katha, when we have a desire to meet together, so let us all 3-4 people come together, meet together and discuss Bhagavatam. To hear Krishna Katha, if you have the desire, Krishna has his own wonderful way of arranging time, place, prasadam, and expenses for the same. Just think about it. If you have that intense, compelling desire, I want to desire for discussing Krishna Katha, hear Katha Katha, let us discuss all together. Maybe on Ekadashi or some days, right? Or on a weekend. So what happens? Krishna is his own wonderful way of arranging time, arranging place, arranging prasadam, and expenses for the same. That's why in 1-17 of Bhagavatam, Prabhupada very nicely explains, the Lord is reciprocally respondent to his devotees. When he sees that the devotee is completely sincere in getting admittance to the transcendental service of the Lord, and has thus become eager to hear about him, the Lord acts from within the devotee in such a way that the devotee may easily go back to him. So if we just sincerely desire to hear or speak about Krishna, then the all-powerful, all-compassionate Lord Shri Krishna, the master of all mystics, can do any magic, which is beyond our comprehension, and engage us more and more in his service. I just touch upon one verse, 1:14, which is, of course, the next Prabhu will be taking up. It's a beautiful verse, right? Because I love this recitation, is so nice. No? The translation is living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is fear personified. Now you're consciously chanting. Even unconsciously you say Hare, when you have Hare Krishna, like that you say, no? So beautiful verse, huh? I've just decided. 1:14. We want to be discussing this, I just want to recite this verse. And it's in the mood we have to recite. Huh? Just not like Apana Samshitim Goram, Yannama Vishugar, like that. Apana Samshitim Goram, Yannama Vivasho Granam, Tata Sadhyo Vimucheta, Yad Bibheti Swayam Bhayam. Apana Samshitim Goram, Yannama Vivasho Granam, Tata sadyo vimocheta yad bibheti swayam bhayam. So beautiful. You should recite the verses in the mood. No? See, living beings were entangled. We are all entangled in the complications of birth and death. And we can only be freed by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This we are consciously chanting. If somebody tells you, you chant. If somebody tells you, the people don't chant also. They don't utter the word Hare Krishna also. Even when you take the phone call to anybody, start with Hare Krishna. Not hi, how are you, good morning. Why don't you say Hare Krishna? Right? Unconscious, that is unconscious chanting, which is feared by fear personified. So there are only two alternatives. We have to exhibit extreme simplicity in whatever we do. Bhagavatam is behavior, I told you in the beginning, right? And we are not here to prove anything. We are here to improve ourselves. So this is a very important thing. So we should be simple in our lives. There are two alternatives. If you follow Bhagavatam, you are at ease. And as soon as you leave Bhagavatam, we suffer. As simple as that. See, beginning from Brahma down to insignificant, no one is independent in the material creation. The hand of Lord is seen everywhere. All material elements as well as all spiritual sparks emanate from Him only. And whatever is created in this material world is but the interaction of two energies, the material and spiritual, which emanate from the absolute truth, the personality of God, Sri Krishna. So, before concluding, especially in youth, we think relative truth is absolute truth, but it is not. Please try to convince yourself. The outcome will show in our behavior. We should exhibit extreme simplicity in our behavior. Then only we can claim we are following anything from Bhagavatam. Everything we do contrary to this will be boomerang back on us. So please let us pray that Krishna will give us capacity to put it into practice. We don't see that Krishna's hand is there in everything. Everywhere Krishna's claim should be uttered. Krishna's name should be uttered. See, Srila Prabhupada had a lifetime of preparation before going to America. Srila Prabhupada has written so much just to convince us that Krishna is all in all. So Srimad Bhagavatam should be daily contacted. We contact somebody daily, right? We should be daily contacted. And because we are missing this, we are missing everything. Early to bed and early to rise is important for this. Unfortunately, in India also, now they don't go to bed before midnight. So by hook or crook, we should be early to bed and early to rise. And Nityam Bhagavata Seya. This is very, very important for us to understand. Let's stop here. Thank you very much, Mataji, for giving this opportunity to glorify the Lord through Srimad Bhagavatam. Yantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki, Shri Gurudev ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. So with whatever my capacity, I will try to give. So please excuse me if any errors. So anything, I will stop here. So anything if you want to share or take away any questions, you can go ahead. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalputrubhya kripa sindhubhaya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namaha.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranams.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam. It was a nice class.
Prabhuji, thank you very much.
Dandavat pranam, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
To all.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. It was a wonderful class.